Welcome to the Facebook page, Understand and Respond. This is my small effort to try and help people who have questions that have been bugging them, things that they just couldn't seem to get a handle on, and to help kind of put some clarity on some things that are often fuzzy. We have feelings about things, but we don't always know how to get a hold of them and really know what's happening. And we invite you to pour an a strong cup of coffee this morning, because we have a very interesting but a very challenging topic. We're going to talk about evil. And this is the second in a series of 4 universal truths that are sort of the core of how I minister, how I take care of people, what I teach people. We had the first one in the lesson on where's God when life doesn't seem fair. It isn't fair. This is a discussion about evil in the world. I'm not about to become your Wikipedia source for all of the details of who and why and what and how everything works on evil in the world, but I want to give you a broad overview. There's one single thing about our world. There is working in the world a personal, meaning it has a personality, it has its own character, it has its own unique identity. There is a personal force of evil alive and working in the world. It is in every country, it is in every nation, it is in every corner of society, wherever there are human beings. And it is extremely powerful. It goes by a lot of different names. I'm not even going to go into that. Here's the issue. You can see where it goes. You can see what its influence is. You can see how it performs. There's a sketch that when we see the outline of it, we know that is the force of evil in the world. And what does that sketch look like? It is always hurtful. It is always destructive. It is always hateful. It is always dishonest. It is always prideful. It is always selfish. It is always murderous in its intention. If anything gets in the way, the murder is in the heart. There is always a sense of vengeance, revenge, violence in it. There is always a maliciousness to it. Even when it doesn't draw blood, it still comes from the same source. And you say, Bob, you've made it so big, everybody knows that there are people who kill each other. Everybody sees the news reports on every evening news. But when you study history and you go back through all of the generations, you will see it appear again and again and again. And you look at it and you go, it really does seem incredible that an entire world would get so insanely evil that they would even consider for a few moments doing to the world what happened during World War II. Think about what happened in that chaos of hatred and bigotry and murder. Think about what the Japanese people did to the Asian theater. The millions of people executed in the most brutal ways. Think about what happened that destroyed whole populations of people. And it's not just World War II. You go back to World War I. Who would consider throwing canisters of chlorine gas on people? Who would consider the several million people that were just hit in the head with hammers and caved their skulls in Cambodia? Who would consider the mass executions of ISIS and others in their desire to terrorize the world? And you go back through history, and every civilization, every time in history has had some people, some group, some society, some religion, some faith that took people into that realm of blinded evil. It's not rational. It's not reasonable. There's not a, well, let's just think this through. Let's see. Someone might say, I think the execution of millions of people in the most horrendous ways seems like a really good idea. No, it's not a good idea. You may hate those people, you may despise people, but that's just an indication of the evil that's at work. And it twists people around. And even after the wars and the apocalypse of hatred and things are all past, good people will look around and say, you know, we sort of went a little bit crazy there, didn't we? And every society has done it. I mean, you don't have to say, well, it was something outside of our country. We would never do these kinds of things. No, we dropped 2 atomic weapons on Japan. We do that kind of thing. You say, well, that was in a war. That was, no, but all you have to do is go back and study what happened during the Civil War and what we did to each other. These are our own people. These are not a foreign government. Well, you say, but those were back in history, and those were in places far away, and those were in times past. We've outgrown evil. We're smarter now. We have the bomb, so we can't have those kind of wars anymore. I'm afraid, in my opinion, you're just not being honest. Because honest people will say, we do have Tim McVeighs who blow up buildings, including children's nurseries. We do have executions of police officers in the streets. We do have people who stand in the front of a theater and try and mow down as many people as possible. We do have people who think that killing children, grade school children, is a really good idea. Yeah, but say those are people with problems. Those are mental illness issues. Those are, that isn't necessarily evil. That's just mental illness. You define it any way you wish. When was the last time you got really angry and lost your temper? And you look back on it later and say, wow, I wish I hadn't said those things. I wish I hadn't done those things. I wish I could take some of that stuff back. When was the last time you went to a party and when you got back home you evaluated your performance and say, I think every decision I made tonight was just right. I've had a number of people tell me every single time I've had a single drink, I ended up having too many drinks. There is a force inside of us that wants to disguise the truth, that wants to explain away the reality. It doesn't want to face the fact that there is an evil presence in the world. And it affects all of us. Inside the church, inside the faith community, as well as in our society. You don't have to go back very far, and you'll see places where you'll say, there was this wonderful pastor, charismatic fellow, named Jim Jones. And he took his congregation to Guyana. No. Evil is a presence in the world, and it should be called what it is. And when there is rage, and when there is anger, and when there is viciousness, and when there is malice, when there is hatred that goes beyond all measure of reasonableness, evil is at work. Now, why do I say that? What is the point of this discussion? Evil is powerful, and evil is destructive. I'm going to say it very honestly. There are a lot of people who are going to be watching this who have felt evil. They have been hurt by people that they trusted. They have been abused by people they believed would always look out for them. There are going to be people who watch this who say, yes, I saw evil. I used to live with it. In the same household. There are going to be people who say, it jumped right out of the darkness and attacked me. I know what evil is. I've seen it. I've felt it. I've been a victim of evilness. We've actually seen families torn apart, marriages ripped apart, children victimized, senseless slaughter. And it may have affected you too. What can we do? How do we understand it? Here is my point, and here is the point I hope you understand from God's Word. There was a man who was so loving and so gentle, and he was a man of such power and authority that all the elements of the world obeyed his instructions. And then, on a day of his choosing, he laid down his power. He laid down his authority. He laid down his hands without trying to protect himself or defend himself. And he allowed the power of that personal, incredibly vicious enemy to just pound away on him hour after hour after hour. He absorbed the blows of pure, irrational, crazy, insane, stupid, angry, hatred, murderous evil. He took every single blow that evil could hand out. We hate the picture of what Mel Gibson gave us in The Passion of the Christ. I can't watch it. I've never watched it. I can't watch it. I can't even watch the previews. Evil ripped his skin off. Evil punched him until he was a swollen, unrecognizable lump. Evil pounded him till every ounce of his life's blood was spilled out on the ground. Evil humiliated him in ways that we can't even comprehend today. To be stripped and stuck up on a cross, which was the very worst thing that could ever happen to a person of Jewish faith. Mocked, ridiculed, berated, humiliated. Evil did every single thing in its corrupt and devious heart and evil killed him. They took his body down from the cross and they laid it in a borrowed tomb. They set soldiers in front of the tomb, gave them the strangest assignment. You know, normally if they're guarding a prisoner, they're turned around facing the prisoner to keep an eye on him. The Roman government put soldiers in front of the tomb to stand with their backs to the tomb, guarding against these crazy fishermen that they thought might come in and steal the body of Jesus. No, they were facing the wrong direction. When the stone rolled back and Jesus walked out on that Easter Sunday morning, he came back to have one single truth. Evil does not win. God's love wins. Evil. Give it your best shot, evil. Give it your best efforts. Pour out your rage. Pour out your hate. Pour out your venom on us. Evil does not win. It can do great harm. It can cause great sorrow. It can create suffering. It can create misery. You can lock 3 teenage girls in your basement and abuse them for years. But in the end, evil does not win when we let God beat him up. When we let God's Spirit bring the power of Jesus Christ to overcome the effects of evil. Does it bring back all the loved ones that's been taken away? No. It gives us the power to walk on in spite of what evil has done. Does the victory of Jesus Christ put back all of the scars so that you can't see where you've been abused before? No. Jesus came back to life still carrying the scars, still carrying the wounds that evil had punched in his body. But it didn't win. If you have felt the effects of evil, if you have been influenced and impacted by evil, know this to be true. God can make that effect of evil in your life a moment of victory. If you've been under the influence of evil and you say, I'll never be able to break this addiction, I'll never be able to break this habit that has got a hold of me, if you have felt the impact of evil, you don't have to live that way. Evil doesn't have to win. Jesus Christ came back to life after everybody in the world thought that he had lost the battle with evil. And he smiled. And he said, I told you. I told you. It's true. Evil is powerful. Evil is extraordinarily deceitful and very crafty. But it doesn't have to win. It doesn't have to win in the world, and it doesn't have to win in your life, in your family. Evil has been put under the feet of Jesus Christ. He took every blow, and he came out the winner. I hope that helps you understand what you have that you can hold on to when you face the effects of evil in the world. Thank you.